You know, they might have you muted for a reason.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
See if they'll pick it up from there.
They got muted down here too.
Go click on that. Meeting is now streaming.
Click that.
Click that. Okay, that's something they control. I think.
Says there's 2 participants.
Okay.
Oh, now they're coming on.
Now they're coming on.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, we'll call to order. We do have a quorum. We are missing Commissioner Doak today. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We need a motion to accept or amend the staff report. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the staff report as presented.
All right, we have a motion to accept. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a first and a second to accept the, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, has everybody got a chance to look at the minutes from our last meeting on January 8th? And anybody have any changes or to that? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes.
Okay, got a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. All right, we'll go to board actions. Are you going to present those, Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the language amendments with the definitions that we approved back in December were certified at the last, well, not the last one, but in February were certified. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to our public hearings. First, we got a public hearing number 1, Stuart Elgro Jr. and Corner Properties, LC for a partial vacation of the Covered Wagon Park subdivision. And I will turn the time over to Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we heard this back in January, and we went through all the hearings and we postponed all the hearings until both Mr. Grow and Maverick could work some things out as far as some of those concerns with Jamestown, Rio Vista, and Project West. So those were the 2 things. There were some other outstanding items that we were looking at. Since then, Maverick has been diligently, and Mr. Grow, who's present, Todd Myers, who's online with Maverick, have gotten with those parties and are addressing those issues. And so that's why we set the agenda to get them through the process. Their desire is to start construction as soon as they can and get going with the store across from Love's Truck Stop. So I'm sure that's why everybody's here, right? Is the exciting Maverick subdivision. No, it's I think the wind farm is why everybody's here. So anyway, we'll start off with this with the vacation. So one thing that I did provide for you in the amended staff report is which I appreciate Mr. Day providing with their engineer, which shows an overlay of what lots that we're vacating in that subdivision. So, Jennifer, did you want to show that on the screen? Okay, all right. I'm going to hold on for just a sec. Okay, I'm just going to proceed. So you all have the staff report. So it's going to be an 8.55 acre of land located in the northwest of quarter of section 7, Township 18 North. This is known as the Covered Wagon Park subdivision. The history of that, there was a subdivision that was never built. Back 1981 is when it was originally platted, and none of the roads or anything was accepted by the county. So in this portion of the subdivision that we're talking about. Now, to the north of that, which is in a commercial area, there is a county road up there, some improvements, and there are commercial lots that are up there that have been constructed. But everything down here to the south has not been constructed. As far as infrastructure, it's within the Jamestown Rio Vista Water and Sewer District. They're going to propose a septic system until the sewer line is placed out there. It's Green River Fire as a responder and Rocky Mountain Power, and proposed access will be off Highway 30. So there's a map, if you go to that page, which shows you this does bleed over into, there's 2 parcels. It's kind of messy out there as far as the land ownership goes, where we have meets and bounds descriptions on top of a platted lots. And that was due to a bankruptcy court, and division of those lands is what occurred. And so that's why we've got meets and bounds on top of this. And really the goal of this hearing today is to vacate this for Maverick, and then in the future, moving forward, Mr. Grow with Jamestown and cleaning up the rest of the area, which would be great because this has been going on since the early 80s. So there is a letter requesting vacation. We do recommend approval of the recommendation, basically with the conditions contingent upon the approval of the subdivision plat and the zone map amendment. And we just ask that Maverick or the applicant will continue to collaborate with Project West to complete the water pipeline easement across the Maverick subdivision, which includes property owned by Stuart Grow and Rofam. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. And I have Mr. Grow here, and then also Maverick's team is also online. So,
All right, thank you, Eric. Can we have the applicant step forward and introduce yourself for the record?
My name is Stuart Grow. I live in Peoria, Utah.
Do you have anything you want to add, or?
No, I think it's been covered. We've been going on a long time on this. so I don't think I need to rehash anything.
Okay, any commissioners have any questions for Mr. Grow? Okay, all right,
you.
thank you. All right, does anybody from Maverick want to address us? Want to add anything?
No, we're really not. This is Todd Myers with Maverick Incorporated, 185 South State Street, Salt Lake City, Utah. We don't have a whole lot of involvement in the vacation. That's really been more of Mr. Grow.
Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you. All right, does anybody from the commission have any questions? Want to discuss anything? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the public portion of this and open it up to the public. For anybody who wants to speak for or against or neutral. We'll open it up to the public. All right. Seeing none and hearing none, we'll close the the public portion. And I will open up to the commission for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve public hearing number 1, partial vacation of the Covered Wagon subdivision.
All right, I got a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
With staff recommendations of the approval down the line.
Does this one have recommendations
yeah.
on it?
Yeah.
There it is.
Yes, it does, Mr. Chairman.
So I will add staff recommendations.
All right, we got a motion to approve with staff recommendations. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I got a first and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries 4-0. All right, we'll move on to public hearing number 2. Greg Day, Hunt Day Engineering, zone map amendment from manufactured home and rural residential to commercial. And I will turn the time over.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're looking at the same piece of land, same applicants really here for all of the hearings that we're presenting today, mostly. So I'll kind of skip over that a little bit since we already talked a little there, but the goal here is to clean up the zoning in this area, get rid of the manufactured home and rural residential with the minimum lot size and just have it be zoned as a commercial parcel. So then it will be suitable for a Maverick convenience store to be built on that land. So you can see that, as Eric spoke to, there's a lot of commercial zoning there to the north of this property. And that just kind of cleans things up, makes this more in alignment with what it needs to be here. So we did post our public notice for this proposal, and we'll just jump into the review criteria. So the first and second really kind of, I think, go hand in hand here, that it's the zone map amendment is consistent and compatible with the current resolution and comprehensive plan, and that it is also suitable for the existing topography and creates buildable lots. So staff does feel that this is an overall benefit to the community and is in alignment with our zoning resolution, and that having it zoned as just commercial cleans things up and will allow for some future development in this area as well. Our third criteria that we look at for zoning map amendments is that the proposed zoning is compatible with the existing or allowable uses of adjacent properties, neighboring zoning districts. As we've stated, there's lots of commercial zoning there, so that's in alignment. And through the subdivision process that Maverick has been working with us on, they've made provisions for adequate facilities as well. And that's something that I believe Eric will speak to a little bit more in depth when he gets to that hearing. And then our fifth and sixth review criteria are that the amendment won't have an adverse effect on the adjacent properties or the health and safety, public welfare for Sweetwater County, and that it conforms to the provisions of this resolution. And for both of those, we say that we don't anticipate an adverse effect on the adjacent properties, and that it is in conformance with the 2015 zoning resolution. We did receive one public/agency comment, and that was just from Ryan Reed, senior mining engineer, who stated that there's no AML concerns with regard to abandoned historic mines. So nothing concerning in our comments that we've received. And with that, the staff recommends approval of this zone map amendment with the following conditions: that the approval be contingent upon approval of the resolution for the partial vacation of the Covered Wagon subdivision and the approval of the resolution for the Maverick Sweetwater subdivision final plat. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. All right, would the applicant like to add anything or clarify anything?
This is Greg Day with Hunt Day Engineering. I don't have anything, sorry, Todd. I don't have anything to add, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have questions for the applicant from the commission? All right, thank you. All right, we'll open this up to the public. Anybody wants to speak for or against? Please step forward. All right. Seeing none and hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. And I'll open it up to the commission for any questions or any comments. All right. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve public hearing number 2 for the zoning map amendment from rural residential and manufactured home in the selected area with staff recommendations.
All right, I got a motion to approve with staff recommendations. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I got a first and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries 4-0. All right, we'll move on to public hearing number 3, Stuart L. Grow Jr. and Corner Properties and Todd Myers with Maverick for the Maverick Sweetwater subdivision final plat. And I'll turn the time over to Eric.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So again, we won't rehash this as far as the location, but let's get to, so the subdivision's going to be platted over what's subdivision lots that we just vacated within that subdivision boundary and just change the zoning to commercial, general commercial to match what's across the street. So we've cleaned that up. So now this is what the Maverick subdivision is going to look like. 8.55 acre parcel. There are some, Mr. Day sent over a drawing showing the subdivision lots to be vacated. So under the general notes that are on the bottom there, there's going to have to be some adjustments made. Not a big deal, just to add a couple more lots that were included that clarified with the drawing that they sent over. So just some quick modifications. The other thing too is on that plat, you're going to see a publicly maintained road, public access, privately maintained. That is going to be a private access easement across until the area down to the south, Mr. Grow decides to move forward, develop that so that we can determine what that's going to be, that road in the future. But at least what it will provide is access. As you can see, there's a division line underneath there. If you go to that drawing above, see how that's 2 different parcels. Same, Mr. Grow really does own both of them, just one's like in an LLC and then one he owns. And so access could be obtained on this Ox Yoke Road Drive down here, also down to the south with these other subdivision roads. So, but it would provide him private access in the future. Kind of the goal here is get the subdivision plat through, and before it's recorded, they will record an easement and then document that on the plat. So it'll show a book and page on there. So just so you know, that's going to change on the plat. Other than that, everything's pretty straightforward. With the resolution numbers, once the plat is vacated, and the easements that are applicable in there will also be vacated. Just the public notices. A lot of this stuff has been addressed. Still waiting. They have submitted a drainage report and still waiting to hear from engineering on what the update is after the review. So staff recommends approval based on the following, the partial vacation, that the zone map amendment goes through, that the applicant submits a revised drainage report, which they have. It's just, we have to make sure that it's, everything is kosher with engineering. And then the other thing that we're still working out is a financial assurance. So we had a condition in here, financial assurance with a fully executed subdivision improvements agreement shall be submitted to the county prior to the recordation of the final plat. Mr. De Leon and I reviewed that last night and went over it. John, I don't know if there's anything you want to add as far as that agreement goes. Go ahead.
Right. I think the only thing that we had talked about, Eric, was to understand that there would be a 180-day time frame that would be required. And so as long as everybody understood that there's the agreement that was the subdivision improvement agreement identified that there's a potential for 24 months to complete the improvements with a 6-month extension, I believe it was. And I think there weren't any issues with that. And then there's a second clause which identifies the potential or the requirement that the plat be recorded within 180 days. And so as long as those two provisions can work together, and there's an understanding that yes, you can have the 24 months with the potential for a 6-month extension, but you also have to meet the requirement that the plat be filed within 180 days. Those two can work together. They can be compatible. If for whatever reason there was a need to extend the time frame for which the plat was filed, there is and I don't know that it would take that long. I don't anticipate that it would take that long, but if there was a need to extend the 180-day time frame to file the plat, there would be a need for a variance to extend that time frame. So as long as all parties understand that those two provisions have to both be met, then I think that everything is fine. So that, I think that was the only thing that we saw last night that was potentially an issue. So that's the only consideration, I think.
So we're okay with the 24 months, and part of that is in case, we have those short construction seasons. Also, is if the timing for that sewer line, if it gets out there for them to connect into. So that year goes pretty fast. So as far as the land use office is concerned, we're okay with the 2-year agreement, because typically what happens is we end up having to renew it, which is what's happened in the last couple of subdivisions. So we're okay with that. It's just so the applicant knows by our regulations, they have 180 days to record the plat itself. So
Eric, question. This is not something we need to add to the staff recommendations. This is within the regulations already.
Yes,
so
that's
we
correct.
don't need to address.
That's correct,
this.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep, correct. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have right now.
All right, thank you, Eric. The applicant like to step forward, and if you got anything you want to add or clarify? No?
I was just waiting to see if Greg was going to go.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just Todd Myers again with Maverick Incorporated. Just to kind of touch on what Eric has said there, Maverick ideally would like to start construction right away. And that's traditionally how we do things. And so a 12-month in that agreement would typically be pretty good for us. However, in this situation, we've met with the sewer district. There could be a sewer line that may even start construction by the end of this year or about this time next year. They have still some work that needs to be done. If they hold to their schedule, then we may wait for them so that instead of doing a septic system, from day one, we'd hook up to the sewer trunk line. So the 24 months kind of gives us the option of whether we connect to the trunk line or whether we go forward with a septic system. Happy to stand for any questions.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's sewer going out there, having public sewer definitely makes a difference. As it stands now, do we have a DEQ permit to construct for septic?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, yes, we do. Well, so we came with that adverse recommendation. I did reach out to the Department of Environmental Quality. It's an adverse recommendation because they have to put in an advanced septic system, which they've noted on the plat. So as long as they put in that advanced septic system, they're okay with this moving forward. So I needed to clarify that. WYDOT has also approved their access. So those are two things. Thank you for reminding me of that. Those two issues. So anyway, thought I'd reach out, let you know. So
Okay, yeah, thank you. All right, and then as one of these recommendations for approval from staff, we have submitting the revised drainage report and getting comments from Public Works Director before the county commission. Are we on pace for that to meet the Board of Commissioners on March 18th?
Mr. Chairman, Public Works Director, Legursky, yes, we are. We received it yesterday. We just didn't have enough time to review it before the meeting today. So we'll review it today, get back with questions. Should be done by the end of the week, hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Gene,
All right, any questions from the commission?
just for Gene. Just as I'm looking at your comments on here, have like the inconsistencies been addressed, and we're right back to the same list we've seen.
No, most of the inconsistencies have been addressed. They've added the extra area that we required. They broke down the coefficient of drainage and all of that stuff so we can actually follow it through the
So
whole
the
process.
outstanding things are all being,
90% of them that we could see in the quick review I did last night, yes.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission? All right. That will open it up to the public. Anybody wants to speak for or against? Now's your time to step forward and address this. All right. Seeing none and hearing none, we'll close the public portion, and I'll open up to commission for any comments, questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve public hearing number 3, Maverick subdivision, Sweetwater Station, or Sweetwater subdivision, final plat, with staff recommendations.
All right, I got a motion for approval with staff recommendations. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I got a first and a second for approval with recommendations. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries 4-0. And that will go to Board of County Commissioners on March 18th. All right, we'll move on to public hearing number 4 for Yesco for the maximum sign height and square footage variance. And I'll turn the time over.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, of course, with the construction of a Maverick store comes signage that they'll need to have as well. Looking over the application, we realized that we would need a variance to look at getting the signage that they were proposing. And I'm not sure who online, if there's anybody online from Yesco. I know it's Crystalline Williams had passed it on to somebody else. So if we've got anybody online with them, when it comes time, feel free to ask questions. there should be people there. So basically by Section 13F of the Sweetwater County zoning regulations, the maximum height of a freestanding sign is 40 feet and the maximum square footage is 300 square feet. The sign that's being proposed here is going to be 125 feet tall and 1,272 square feet. So it's quite a bit larger than what the regs state here. So we would need that variance to be able to build that sign. We did get a variance request narrative from Maverick, just basically to summarize, stating that a taller sign will help with the safety of people making a decision, like a timely decision while they're traveling at high rate of speed, and allowing them to safely decide to get off of the interstate to visit the Maverick store. And then also just stating that, you know, if they're not allowed to have that sign, then it could negatively impact business as well, just because they wouldn't be seen quickly enough. So this is just a little bit more on, you know, the safety that could be promoted by having that taller sign here. And I wanted to jump just really quick. I did forget to include these, but we got these exhibits. These are with the YESCO application for the signage for Maverick. And let's see, let me get that in full screen mode here. So this is the sign that they're proposing. It'd be 125 feet tall. This is how it would look. And then they did give us sort of just a simulation of what that could potentially look like from the interstate. You know, here's heading eastbound, and then off here you can see, you know, what that might look like to a potential traveler. So you can see it doesn't seem like anything too egregious and huge. It's just noticeable. And then this is heading westbound, and same thing, you can see the Love's truck stop or travel center sign, and then the Maverick one as well, the proposed one. Just to kind of put that into perspective on what they're looking for here with this signage proposal and variance. So again, we're looking at that same parcel for the proposed subdivision where they're looking to put the sign. This is just a little bit of a more close-up view. This is where that proposed sign would be that we're looking for the variance on. We did post public notice, and we'll jump into the review criteria. So the first is that there are special circumstances or conditions that have not resulted from any act of the on that like side of the applicant, leading them to needing this variance. And really, we find that the topography of the land, the high speeds that are being traveled there, they do make it this being a reasonable request to have that sign variance. The second is that we have to look and decide if depriving the applicant of this variance would lead to them not being able to use the property in a reasonable way, and that this is the minimum adjustment that would be needed. And, you know, the land could still be reasonably used. It might impact business, of course, but overall staff does feel that the variance will benefit the welfare and safety of the community, and is satisfied that the proposed adjustment is the minimum adjustment necessary. Our third is that the granting of the variance is in harmony with the general purposes and intent of the zoning resolution and will not be injurious to the neighborhood or detrimental to public welfare. And again, just to reiterate, we feel like it'll actually be more of a safety feature than anything else there. Staff did not receive any comments from the public or from any agencies regarding the sign variance. And so with that, we will recommend the approval of the variance for signage height and square footage with the following conditions. The first is that the owner of the property has signed the variance permit application. We've held off on that one just for a little bit because the purchase is, you know, we'll have Maverick sign this once everything's kind of gone through so that we have their permission saying, yes, build this Maverick sign on the Maverick property. The second is the approval of the partial vacation of the Covered Wagon subdivision with the resolution. Same with the zone map amendment and approval of the Maverick Sweetwater subdivision by the Board of County Commissioners. And that's everything that I've got, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I could just add one thing, because Cassidy wasn't here during that time, but Love's across the street also had to obtain variances. It's something we probably need to look at as far as our sign regulations. So just for reference, that we did approve actually 2 variances over there. So
Question is, how high did we let them go?
I don't remember. Don't remember. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, would the applicant like to step forward? You have anything to add or?
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Clint Carver with Maverick. I'm the signage manager here. I don't have a whole lot to add. I could help answer any questions you have. Actually, one thing I could help provide is we do some studies based on this. It's not just trying to get what Love's has. We do go through and figure out exactly what people can see from the highway. We did go back about 1/4 mile from the off ramp and say, what size do our digits need to be legible from our site? And that's how we came up with the digit size. And of course, it was already addressed, the topography. That's all I had to add to that. Happy to answer anything.
All right, yeah, thank you. I think the photographs with the signs on there, what they look like, I think that helps a lot. I know coming around that corner, currently Love's kind of does sneak up on you. So I think having signs higher so the general public can see them definitely helps. All right, any questions or comments from the commission?
Mr. Chairman, just to answer Commissioner Richards' question, 100-foot was Love's, but this is further back. So
Are you aware how far back DOT has their set up for
no idea.
the off signs? 'Cause I know DOT has their program that, puts up for fueling station stuff, and they're set back. So it's, they're trying to, even DOT is working with making it safe for people can recognize what they're coming up on even before it's within sight, I just want to stay consistent. That's just my.
I don't know the answer.
Well, and I do know that we did have a comment the last time we met on this, just on the comment section, from a constituent that was concerned about signage and how that was going to work and how things were going to kind of come in. And so maybe this will address that concern.
Thank you. All right, anyone else from the commission? If not, we'll open it up to the public. Anybody want to come forward for or against? All right, seeing none and hearing none, we'll close the public hearing portion. And does anybody from the commission have anything they want to add or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve public hearing number 4, maximum sign height and square footage variance to our section 13F 215 Sweetwater County zoning resolution.
With recommendations?
Recommendations.
I got a motion for approval with recommendations. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I got a first and a second for approval with recommendations. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries 4-0. All right, that will end our public hearing portion of the meeting. And we'll go to other business. Yes, we got people from Jackalope Wind, so. I will turn the time over to you.
Do all of you have the printouts of our presentation or to make sure we can get it up to see it before we start? There's some visuals.
I have an old one.
Well, I pass those out. Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, thank you for the opportunity to present this overview. My name is Glenn Schober, the lead developer for the Jackalope Wind Project. The intent is to give you an overview of our company and the project, and then open it up for discussion or any questions that you may have as we're preparing our application to submit to the county, as well as our other jurisdictions, including the industrial siting and the BLM NEPA process. So as NextEra Energy, we are a sister company of Florida Power and Light. So we are the regulated utility in Florida and also have a development arm that operates throughout the country. We are American owned and operated, investments across almost every state and 4 provinces in Canada. We develop renewable energy, including wind, solar, battery storage. We also own and operate natural gas facilities and pipelines, as well as nuclear power plants in different states across the country. Specifically in Wyoming, we've had a lot of success developing wind energy projects in the state, coordinating with the other counties and communities that we're operating in. We have over 1 gigawatt of wind that is currently operating and deployed in the state, and those include projects in Laramie County, Natrona County, and Converse County. 2 of those projects just recently completed construction and went into operations within the last 5 months. So that being said, we've had good success partnering with communities and developing wind sites across the state. Getting into some of the numbers, and again, these do not include the 2 projects that just went operational in the last few months, but we have invested $2 billion in the state. $3.4 million in 2023 were paid in property taxes, making us the 4th largest non-mineral property taxpayer in the state of Wyoming. The other thing that we're proud about as a company is engaging with different stakeholders in the communities that we operate in and becoming a part of the community. So some of those examples are the Pooled Migration Fund. We donated $50,000 to the Wildlife Fund to support big game corridors, conserving them, and then infrastructure projects like highway overpasses that allow for big game to continue on their unimpeded migration corridors with infrastructure that's already in place. A lot of roads sometimes break those up, so this goes to highway overpass projects. We've also invested $30,000 with the University of Wyoming, being able to fund their professional land management program at the school, which we're very proud to partake in. Some of the things we're already involved in Sweetwater County, a Chamber of Commerce member. We contributed to the American Legion and the Kiwanis Club in December to support some programs like Shop with a Cop. We are sponsoring the Rock Springs State of the City address tomorrow, given by the mayor. And we look to always continue to coordinate to be a good neighbor and create a long relationship with the communities that we operate in. If we talk about specifically the benefits to Sweetwater County, like what is this project going to do as an overview? Over $1 billion of capital expenditure will be invested in building this 600 megawatt project. This is an estimate, but about $40 million we expect to spend on local purchases and vendors. Obviously, we always try our best to source from local companies and vendors. As far as workforce goes with the project, the construction will be the largest workforce that comes in, 425 construction workers at the peak month during the construction, with an average of 273 employees over the 15-month construction period. As far as full-time, we'll have 18 new jobs that will be the wind site managers and wind technicians that'll live in the community and be working and maintaining the project site. From a revenue generation perspective, we tried to lay out all of our assumptions on how we calculated some of the numbers, but using the current mill levy rate, we estimate the project will generate approximately $184 million in ad valorem tax for the county. The counties also will get a share of the sales and use tax. This will accrue over just the construction period, so 2026 and 2027, approximately $25 million to the county from the sales and use tax revenue. The counties also will receive a share of the wind generation excise tax from the state. It receives 60% of that total tax at $1 per megawatt hour that the project generates. There is an exemption on the first 3 years, so it will accrue from year 4 to year 35 of the project's operation, and that equates to approximately $39 million of revenue. All these combined is an approximate total revenue of about $248 million that the project will generate for the county specifically. In addition, the county is also can acquire some impact assistance funds through the Industrial Siting Commission and that permit process. So there's about $15 million that the Industrial Siting Council will divvy out between the two primary counties which are affected, which was determined to be Sweetwater County and Carbon County, as some of the employees will probably come from the Rawlins area or some of the workforce. So I know the county is familiar with that process and some of the other large projects, and will coordinate with the county to make sure that, and the Industrial Siting Division to make sure that those get divvied out properly. So the next slide is kind of my attempt at why are we even building a project here in Sweetwater County? And so to give you a little background on how our company develops wind projects, there are 4 primary things that are a must-have when you develop a wind project, or otherwise it's not able to operate. So 1, you need to have access to available transmission capacity. And the project is connecting to the Jim Bridger substation. And with projects like Gateway West coming, it is there's a lot of capacity currently and opening up in kind of like a transmission corridor in this area. You need to have a demand. So someone needs to want to buy your energy. And so as you've been seeing in the news, there's a huge demand for energy across all different types of generation technology. So there is a demand, and the project has sold the energy generation for the project already. You need a high wind resource. And obviously, as members of the community, you know, the wind blows a lot out here. So that speaks for itself. And then finally, sufficient buildable land. Is there area that is developable from a terrain aspect? And then is there sufficient land that's open that you can actually build the project? So some of the things so that's the reason why we're developing and we're looking in Sweetwater County, is it meets all of those 4 main criteria. And then some of the other factors we took into account when siting a project, and from our experience, is kind of out of view from residential areas. And the project, the closest residential area is Wamsutter, which is 16 miles from the nearest turbine, even farther from Rock Springs and Green River, obviously. The other things that we looked at is avoiding all the sage grouse core area, areas of critical environmental concern, all the turbines avoid all big game crucial ranges and follows the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service buffer recommendations for all occupied eagle and hawk nests. So then we have over 3 years of surveys and studies looking at biological and cultural resources in the project area to define where we can build, where are other areas of concern that aren't necessarily a zoned core area or off limits for building. And we will, part of the NEPA process is we will do our environmental and cultural surveys on every portion of the project that we will disturb to build the project. I was thinking before I should have moved this up to the top of the slide, but here's the map of where exactly I'm talking about that we're developing it. So this is the initial project boundary or footprint that we submitted our SF 299 BLM permit for. And then the next slide, we have more of these in the appendix if the commission wants to look at more detailed pictures of where actual infrastructure is located. But you can see the actual footprint of where turbines and roads will be going is a much smaller portion of that overall project area. Keep moving on here. Yeah, and then just the general project description is the project will be 600 megawatts or is intended to be. We're using GE turbines, and that will include about 213 wind turbines that make up that 600 megawatts. As he said, the project boundary is fairly large at 149,000 acres, but the actual facility boundary and project footprint is a much smaller portion, about 5,000 acres. And that includes the after construction, the final permanent disturbance area of the project. This takes place on private lands, Bureau of Land Management, and 1 parcel of state of Wyoming land. And we believe we're coordinating with adjacent landowners from our experience with projects in the state already. It allows for multiple use. So wind isn't like solar where it takes up the whole landscape. You can coordinate with other surface uses to make sure that they can continue multiple use, including grazing and oil and gas drilling. As I said, we've contracted the sale of the energy to Idaho Power Company, which owns a portion of the Jim Bridger Power Plant as well as the transmission substation. We also have a signed interconnection agreement with Idaho Power Company to allow us to interconnect in the first quarter of 2027, which are all big hurdles to make sure that a project is real and we have the opportunity to actually build this and generate electricity. The last few are just last 3 slides here are just acknowledging our compliance with the zoning resolution. So acknowledging that our application will consider all of these factors in section 7, as well as section 17, which applies specifically to the wind energy conversion system permit. I don't think we have to go into details about these, but just acknowledging again that our application will include responses to all of these. The last part is compliance with other applicable sections, and these are the few that we've highlighted that we will also have to address within the resolution and are planning for in the application. If we move to the final slide is just the tentative project schedule. We intend next month probably to submit our permit application to the county, followed by the ISA Industrial Siting Act permit application in the following month. As I said, we're working through the BLM process with a draft EIS scheduled to publish towards the end of this year. And currently they have a record of decision scheduled for April of 2026, which right now is kind of the long lead time of when we can actually start construction in the summer of 2026. That concludes my presentation. As I said, in the appendix here, we have some zoomed in pictures of the project site plan, as well as 5 examples of the visual analysis that will be in the application. it'll include a total of 47 key observation points. We just had a chance to quickly run through and get 5 to give you a flavor of what those will look like from different areas. And we've coordinated with Eric and the county staff to pick out those specific key observation points that are important for residents of Sweetwater County. Thank you for your time. I'll turn it over to you for any questions.
All right, thank you. Yeah, does the commission have any questions?
You know, not about this. I'm for all of the above, but you're in the industry. Have they has the industry made advancements towards their recycling of down south instead of just burying it in big pits to deal with down the road?
Yeah, I think the answer is that problem has not been resolved completely. What I can say from our company's perspective, like you said, it's an industry problem of how you do this. And so we're working with a few companies that are kind of in the startup phase that are taking and recycling the turbine blades to use for different projects. I mean, some of them are building like playground equipment with them, for example, that I'm aware of. The issue is it's not scaled to the level of being able to use all of those turbine blades that'll be decommissioned in the next few years. But we're working on creating that that industry and that kind of circular process.
It'll be there in the future.
Yeah.
What's the lifespan of a turbine?
This project is designed for 35 years of operation. So pending any damage to something that needs to get replaced, most of them will last for 35 years until they're decommissioned. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
All right, any other questions?
You talked about multiple use, especially like I said, there's not a lot on the bottom of that. Is there some barriers or anything that goes up? Or how is that allowed, especially with the checkerboard and some of the private land and that? How does that kind of, is there any restriction that goes along?
We'll work to get accommodation agreements with all the mineral owners. And really, that's just a coordination of, okay, we need so many feet offset from a turbine before, and then how comfortable are you drilling with getting a derrick out there to actually do something with the turbine? So it's a lot of coordination, and it's very, they're all different depending on who the operator is, what exactly they're planning for. But we go out and pursue all of those accommodation agreements to coordinate with them of what our offset is, how close they can get, and then kind of have a plan of where their operations are going to be and where our rights are. So it's a coordination process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Concerns.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, thanks for presenting to us. As we don't have any other business, all right. Having gone through the agenda and nothing else to discuss, we will adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.